Hello, and thank you for joining us today to learn more about the proposed rate changes that Heartland's Board of Directors will be considering at the open meeting in the membership on Monday, September 23rd. We know that long gone are the days that electricity is just a luxury. We know our members need electricity to power their lifestyles every single day. So please know that I speak for the whole cooperative here when I say that we take our responsibilities seriously to make sure that is the most reasonable cost possible. So speaking of costs, I know that it's not any secret that over the last few years, everything has gotten more expensive. We feel that every time we go to the grocery store. When we think about inflation and how it's affected Heartland, it's pretty simple. Everything costs more and everything is harder to get. It takes a lot of parts and pieces to build the electric system. And over the last few years, all these parts have gotten more expensive. This graphic shows the average percent increase from 2020 to 2024. All the parts like conductor, transformers, and insulators that are required for any service we build. As you can see, it's very common for us to pay twice as much as we used to a few years ago. And it goes far beyond just these components. We replace hundreds of poles every year on our system to keep it in good shape. A 35-foot pole that cost us about $200 in 2020 now costs us closer to $400. Other crucial pieces like voltage regulators and reclosers cost us somewhere between 2 to 3 times as much as they did 4 years ago, and have lead times as long as 2 to 3 times as long, so about a year and a half. To give you another example of how extreme some of these changes have been, this digger derrick that's in this picture places lots of poles in the ground, meaning that it does lots of digging, and it's a crucial piece of equipment for us. This truck cost us about $300,000 a couple of years ago, so it was already an expensive piece of equipment. Now it's estimated to cost about $450,000 from the latest quote we got. And if we place an order today, it's only putting us in queue for production, and we won't get it for about 3 years, and we'll find out the final cost at the end of that 3-year time period. So for cost increases, we have talked about so far are things that are outside of our control, but that just means it's even more important for us to control our costs where we can. The majority of the bill we pay to our power supplier, KEPCO, is based on how much Heartland members are using during peak times. That's when the demand on the grid is the highest and power cost is the most. That means it's our best opportunity to control cost is to help find our members ways to save on peak demand and keep that to a minimum. We call this load control, and it's an approach that we use in several different ways. First off, we have diesel generators that we run during peak times. Their purpose is to generate power to use locally and reduce how much we have to buy during peak times from the grid. We also have 3 solar farms in place. Again, the main purpose is to generate electricity during peak times and to reduce our wholesale power bill. These solar farms provide us significant savings each year. Lastly, since 2022, we've had electric rates in place that are designed for members to have the financial incentive to reduce their peak demand during peak times. Another way we help keep our costs down is by keeping overtime to a minimum. There's an old saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We take proactive steps to avoid unnecessary outages and use staff time more efficiently. Some examples of this are our vegetation management program, where we work year-round to keep trees from becoming a problem, our pole check and treat program, where we identify and replace failing poles during work hours instead of after hours, and the use of our real-time monitoring system, SCADA, and other technologies that help us find and address problems as quickly as possible. Every few years, we work with an outside consultant to perform a cost of service study to ensure that we're on the right track. This year, we used Guernsey out of Oklahoma City. Their main finding was that our revenues are not keeping up with our expenses due to the factors that we have already discussed previously here today. The bottom line is we need more revenue through our electric rates to stay financially healthy and be able to serve our members for years to come. So what are the proposed rate changes and what do they look like? Every rate, whether you're residential or commercial, is going to see some adjustments if the changes are approved by the board. This would be an overall increase of about 4.03% that would go into effect this October, and then smaller increases of around 1.5% would go into effect in October of 25 and October of 26. Just to be clear, the board would be voting on whether to approve all 3 years at once. It's an all or none vote. So what are these going to look like exactly from a residential perspective? The energy charge, which is what we pay per kilowatt hour that's used, will increase on every residential rate in the first year, but not the following years if this rate's approved. Meanwhile, the peak charge and service availability charge will go up each year. So what does this look like exactly? Looking at the service availability charge, it is proposed to go from $39 to $40 in October of 24, and then up to $41.65 in 25 and $42.85 in 26. Looking at the energy charge next, there's a little under a penny increase in October of 24 and no changes in 25 or 26. Peak charges in October of 24 would go from $2 to $4, which really don't go into effect until June of next year when we hit our peak season again. Then starting in October of 25, that would go to $5 and $6.26. So it really would be the June of 2027 that $6 would be in place. Looking at our time of use rates, service availability charge would follow that of the peak savers. The on-peak energy rate would go up slightly in year one, and then also slightly for the off-peak in year one for the off-peak energy, and no changes in 25 or 26 for those as well. For the prepaid accounts, service availability charge would go from $1.28 to $1.31 per day in October of 24, up to $1.37 per day in 25 and $1.40 in 26. The energy charges for on-peak and off-peak energy would follow those of the time of use rates. Small commercial accounts would see the same service availability charge change in 24, 25, and 26 as the residential accounts have seen. Would see a slight change in the energy charge for each one of those years, and then the peak charge for June, July, August, and September would go from $6 to $6.50 in October of 24, $6.75 in 25, and $7.20 per kW in 26. General commercial accounts, no change in the service availability charge or in the non-coincident peak charge. The energy charge would fluctuate slightly, and then the peak charge would go up on the coincident peak from $14.66 to $16 in October of 24, $16.50 in October of 25, and $17 in October of 26. So what's next would be the open meeting of the membership of the cooperative on Monday, September 23rd at 10 a.m. right here at Heartland's office. The same presentation that was given today will be given that day as well, and members are welcome to attend and ask additional questions if we aren't able to answer them beforehand. The board will then vote on whether they approve the changes at that time. The timing of the changes are over on the right-hand side of the screen there. Phase 1 would be October of 24, Phase 2 would be October of 25, and Phase 3 would be October of 26. So as you're looking for additional resources, please go to our website, heartlands-rec.com, and on the news items on the front page, it'll take you to some more information about how those rate changes are looking to impact the membership. At this time, I'll be sitting here waiting for questions if there's any available. I think Doug is seeing if there's anything available right now, and so far we're not seeing anything, so we'll give it just a minute to see if anything comes through.
Mark, I'm going to go up to previous slides that I was having a little technical difficulty, so it didn't get shown. It's just the slide about inflation affecting those various parts. It might be good to just point that out really quickly again.
Yeah, so Doug is moving to a slide on the screen talking about the increase of electrical parts. Doug was having some technical difficulties, so you can see a lot of those costs of those pieces of equipment on the pole have seen about 100% increase since 2020. And so in the last 4 years, having a 100% increase in a lot of the components we use really impacts the cost of the cooperative. And we do take our responsibility of keeping reasonable rates we take that very seriously, but the world is very unpredictable, and when we did our last rate increase in January of 2022, we didn't know that all the inflationary pressures would be coming upon us at that time.
I'm still not seeing any questions.
We're not seeing any questions, so we'll go ahead and finish our town hall today, but please feel free to reach out to us at the office if you have any questions before the member meeting next Monday, or we'll see you here at the office as well. So thank you very much for your time today, and we'll talk to you soon.